Wow. The NFL draft officially started today on March 26th. We don't see deals like this get done in March, usually. That tells you a lot about what teams feel about these players, their situation, and it also is very telling about what's being done, why it's being done, and who it's being done for. The NFL has just turned into the NBA, and God damn it, I love it. Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 150th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. This 150th podcast comes in with a bang. I'm talking about some juicy fruit. I mean, the first trade was juicy fruit. I was juicy. I said, this is real juicy, man, but I knew what it was about. I had started to the process, if you will, of constructing a mock draft in which I had the Miami Dolphins moving out of the third spot. I didn't have the San Francisco 49ers trading into that spot, however, but nonetheless, I thought the Dolphins would be interested in moving out of that spot, and they did. The Laramie Tunsil trade with the Houston Texans continues to be the gift that keeps on giving for the Miami Dolphins. Even after he's gone, Bill O'Brien's still handing out dimes to other teams as the Dolphins continue to reap the benefits of all the moves made when they started offloading players to other teams, including the Steelers and, of course, the aforementioned Houston Texans. Nonetheless, this is a massive trade. We saw the trade deadline come and go for the NBA, and they made some big deals as they always do. And it's about damn time the NFL stepped up to the plate and made some noise. And so after the NBA had their field day yesterday, the NFL steps up and one-ups the NBA with some massive trades, back-to-back trades. Again, the likes of which we generally don't see. And the reason you usually don't see moves like this being made is because you're not guaranteed anything in March. You want to make sure the guy that you're after is at that pick when you make the deal. So what that tells you is that some teams are really comfortable and confident about the moves that they've made. And I'm going to tell you exactly why today. So without any further ado, I'm just going to jump straight into it. It's Friday. I know you got shit to do. I don't want to keep you here longer than you need to be. So let's jump right into it, shall we? Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T-double-E. Open you up. And I'm going to open you up today. Get you thinking a little bit, okay? So let's talk about this first bombshell trade that we got today. 49ers move up to the number 3 spot in the 2021 NFL draft. Dolphins move back to 12. And let's get the parameters of this first deal out of the way first before we start talking about particulars and takeaways from this deal. So the 49ers get the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft. The Miami Dolphins get the 12th pick. So the two teams swapped first round picks. Dolphins also in this deal get a 1st and a 3rd from the 49ers in 2022 and an additional 1st in 2023. So essentially, they got the maximum amount of first round picks one can acquire in a deal. I don't know if the NFL counts that first one as them swapping as an additional first, but you can only trade 3 years worth of first round picks in a row. So that's essentially what the Dolphins got the 49ers to do. And I was talking to Washington fans about what it would take for Washington to get into a position to get a quarterback. And I told them that the price would be extremely steep. You just saw what it took to get from 12 to 3. Imagine if Washington was trying to get from 19 to 3, especially when the team that you're trading with knows you're coming up for a quarterback. They are going to fleece you because they know the desperation necessary at the quarterback position and what that means for your franchise. And so they know you're in a very vulnerable position and they're going to take advantage of it. And that's what the Dolphins did. It's a magnificent trade for them. But then the Dolphins, on top of that trade, they say to themselves, there's a guy that we want and we're not going to get him here at 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the top 7 of the draft, go get our guy, and we're going to have to talk to the Eagles about that. And so the Eagles, knowing that they weren't going to be able to get the guy that they wanted all along, we'll talk about that a little bit later, move out of 6, go back to 12 in exchange. So let's talk about the parameters of this deal, and then we'll go back to the first deal, talk about the takeaways there, and then we'll go back to the second deal. And they all intermingle, they all intertwine. So we'll be talking about them, both deals, as a matter of fact, as I'm going back and forth. But in this second deal, it was like a chain reaction thing. I think the Dolphins knew all along what was going to happen. I think they already had the deal with the Eagles in place before they agreed to the deal with the 49ers. I think they knew that if they were going to move back, they needed to get back up. And so before moving back, they needed to get assurance from the Eagles that they were going to be able to make this deal happen. So I think the Dolphins already knew that they were going to do this before the deal with the 49ers, but they needed to get the assurance from the Eagles first that, in fact, we have a deal in place. So if I tell the 49ers and we file the paperwork with the league, then I need to make sure that we have an understanding and agreement that I'll be able to get back to number 6. And here's what happened. Dolphins get the 6th overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft, allowing the Eagles to then move back to 12. That pick that the Dolphins picked up from the 49ers, they give it to the Eagles. So the Eagles now have the 12th pick in the 2021 NFL draft. And they also have the 123rd pick in this year's draft. That is a 4th rounder. They also receive a 2022 first round pick from the Miami Dolphins. And we don't know which first rounder. Is it the Dolphins first rounder? Is it one of the first rounders, the first rounder they got from the 49ers? That doesn't really matter at this point. That will matter later on in the process because, again, we don't know what the Dolphins are going to be. We don't know what the 49ers are going to be. One of those two picks is going to be higher than the other, so it does matter. But for the purposes of this discussion, it doesn't really matter right now. So let's talk about what this deal means for the San Francisco 49ers. So the 49ers moving up to 3, there are, for me, 3 big takeaways here. And it was funny to me watching all of this transpire in real time, because the first thing comes out, it's the trade. They're going up to number 3. The next thing that comes out is the 49ers aren't trading Jimmy G. Well, that's bullshit. Let me tell you that right now, but we'll get to that in a second. The first takeaway, all right, the easiest inference to draw from the trade is that the 49ers are coming up, and they're coming up to get a quarterback. Okay, that's easy. That's low-hanging fruit. That's not telling you anything you don't already know. Now the question is, well, which one? Before we even get into which one, you have to understand the thought process of the San Francisco 49ers. The fact that we're talking about this deal being consummated in March 26th, 2021, to be exact, over a month away from when the 2021 draft gets underway on April 29th. The fact that we're talking about this deal and the 49ers going up to number 3 tells you that the 49ers are more than comfortable with 3 quarterbacks in this draft. As a matter of fact, they love 3 quarterbacks in this draft. That's what them trading up to number 3 tells you, is that we don't really give a shit which one it is, whether it's Trevor Lawrence, they know it's not going to be him, or it's Zach Wilson, or it's Trey Lance. I think it's Trey Lance, honestly speaking. They don't give a shit. They don't care which one it is. They're going to be perfectly happy with any of them. That's what this trade says. It's screaming that loud and clear, because if you specifically wanted a guy, you can't trade up to number 3 because you're not going to be assured that guy is going to be there. Give you a prime example. Let's say the 49ers are madly in love with Zach Wilson. They can't be certain that he's going to be there at 3 because the Jets could take him at 2. I'm assuming the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson at number 2. I've said all along, Trevor Lawrence went to the Jags Zach Wilson 2 to the Jets. I think that's a foregone conclusion for many people, me included. And so you can't assume Zach Wilson's going to be there at 3, which is why the report about the Eagles wanting Zach Wilson and trying to trade up to number 3, to me, is a bogus report. The Eagles might have actually liked Zach Wilson and wanted to acquire him, but you can't trade up to 3, and the Eagles knew better than that. That's why they didn't do it. The fact that the Eagles opted to trade back instead of trade up, it has nothing to do with, oh, they wanted to get this extra draft capital. It's because they couldn't be assured that they could get their guy. And so it didn't make sense for the Eagles to trade up to 3. If the Eagles don't love Trey Lance, they don't love Justin Fields, then you can't trade up to number 3. Because guess what? There is no guarantee that your guy, Zach Wilson, is going to be there. So the Eagles were never in play for number 3. Don't let them lie to you. If they really wanted Zach Wilson, if that report is accurate, and I think they really did, that's why they traded out of 6. I think they really wanted Zach Wilson, and they knew they weren't going to be able to get him. They weren't going to be able to get high enough. They needed to get to number 2 to get him. They weren't going to get there. The Jets aren't moving off of number 2. So they knew they couldn't get Zach Wilson at 3, or at least they weren't going to be guaranteed, because the Jets could take Justin Fields for all we know. At the end of the day, they weren't assured that they were going to be able to get their guys. So they moved out of number 6. Okay. However, back to the 49ers. That means they're comfortable with Lawrence, they're comfortable with Wilson, they're comfortable with either Fields or Trey Lance. I think it's Trey Lance if we are being brutally honest with each other and we're keeping it a buck. I think it's Trey Lance. At the end of the day, what that says is the 49ers are perfectly fine selecting one of 3 quarterbacks. So that's something we can definitely agree on there. The next thing is they're definitely trading Jimmy G. Now, they don't have to trade Jimmy G right now. Okay. There's no rush to do this. Nothing is happening between now and the draft. Trust me when I tell you, and I think they're going to wait until they get their guy before they trade Jimmy G, just in case something crazy happens. You never know. I'm knocking a little bit of wood. I don't wish ill will on anybody, but you never know. You know, Zach Wilson could be working out in Florida and he could tear something. That changes everything. So they just want to make sure they get their guy. He's healthy. He's standing upright. And once everything checks out on draft night and they get their guy and they announce the pick, that's when Jimmy G is going to be shipped off to New England. And you best believe he's going to New England. Bill Belichick never wanted to trade Jimmy G in the first place. And you know what? It's poetic justice, because of all the places he could have shipped Jimmy G, he shipped him to San Francisco. There was a relationship between Belichick and Kyle Shanahan, and now it's come full circle, and they're going to do business with one another again with the same player, this time being shipped back to New England. I told you the Cam Newton deal meant absolutely nothing. It didn't hold the weight that the paper of the deal that it was on, okay? That deal meant absolutely nothing, and it was not going to prohibit the New England Patriots from making an aggressive play for another quarterback if they felt like another guy was available, and Jimmy G's been their guy all along. So the 49ers can tell you that, and I told you all along, I told you guys this 2 months ago, before free agency was even something in the forefront of your minds. When we started talking about quarterbacks, and I said this is going to be a crazy offseason, I told you point blank, Jimmy G will not be in San Francisco when the season starts. I told you guys that. I said, look at the numbers of the contract. It just doesn't make sense. If they find a replacement for his ass, and trust me, the 49ers are looking, even though their general manager, John Lynch, tried to deter everybody from snooping around and, hey, Jimmy's our guy, we're fine. And you heard all the rumors that the 49ers aren't looking to move Jimmy G and they're not looking to move on from him. We all could see through that lie. It was all lies. I told you, this time of the year, believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man, Louie T. So you already knew what time it was. You already know what time it was. All right. The bottom line is, once they get their guy at 3, Jimmy G's as good as gone. And look, it's the Patriots. Trust me when I tell you, they're salivating at the prospects of getting their guy back. They think that they're a Jimmy G away with all the moves that they've made. They insert Jimmy G, who already knows their offensive scheme. The same offensive coordinator that he left in New England, Josh McDaniels, is still there. He comes in. It's like he never left. They don't miss a beat. And he's able to hit the ground running. Hell, he's even got a target he's familiar with. They signed Kendrick Bourne there to a 2-year deal. So, or it might have been a 3-year deal. I think it was a 3-year deal. So he's got receivers there that he's comfortable with already. And they went out and got all these tight ends, got all of these receivers. They just need the quarterback. You know, Cam, we thought might get an opportunity. I said, look, I'm not sure Cam's the guy. This deal that he signed means absolutely nothing. They could cut Cam. And if they get Jimmy G, I think Cam Newton's gone. Because let's be honest, I don't think Cam Newton views himself as a backup in this league. Can we agree on that as well? I don't think he's the kind of guy. I think his ego is too big. His pride is too much for him to allow himself to be in a backup capacity. If he's not starting, I think he'd rather just not play. I think that's the kind of mentality Cam Newton has. I don't think he's able to swallow his pride and say, I'll just sit here and be a backup quarterback and wait my turn. So he could become a distraction. And that's the last thing they want in New England. You know, they don't stand for that shit. The first sight of trouble, his ass is gone. So that's an interesting dynamic and dilemma there once that takes place. But that's something that hasn't happened yet. So we don't need to spend too much time on that. But just know that the 49ers, the biggest takeaway from the 49ers coming up to number 3 is that they love 3 quarterbacks in this draft, and they're perfectly fine drafting any of them, which is why they're comfortable getting to number 3. Because if they wanted a guy in particular, then they wouldn't have come up to 3 unless they felt like that guy was someone that wouldn't go, and they can't be assured of that. The only thing they can be assured of is that they're going to get a quarterback that they feel good about. They can't know that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence or it's going to be Zach Wilson or even Trey Lance. I mean, the Jets could surprise and say, we want Trey Lance, which probably would be to the delight of the 49ers because they probably really want Zach Wilson. But at the end of the day, they're not dummies. They know that he's probably going to be taken second in this draft. So they're perfectly fine with, I think, Trey Lance. And the fact that people are asking, is it Mac Jones? Are you stupid? Seriously, are you drinking fluid? Like, there's no way the 49ers have come up all the way to number 3 to get Mac Jones? Hell no. So the fact that that's even a discussion, stop it right now. It's not why they came up to number 3. They came up for either Fields or Lance. I think it's Trey Lance. And once they get their guy, they're going to move on from Jimmy G so fast it'll make your head spin. You just got knocked out by Mike Tyson. Okay? So then you get to the Dolphins in this thing, and they go back to 12. And I'm saying to myself, oh, okay, cool. Dolphins can continue in the stockpile draft selections. Remember, they already have the 18th pick in this draft. They had the 3rd pick as well. They moved back to 12. So my initial reaction to the Dolphins moving back was, oh, okay, the Dolphins must feel really good about the top 3 receivers in this draft, and they really don't care which one they get. Whether it's Jamar Chase or the 2 Bama boys, they really don't care. By moving back to 12, they've essentially said to themselves, hey, we're good with any of these receivers. Doesn't really matter to us. And then when the second trade happened with the Dolphins taking that 12th pick that they got from the 49ers and essentially swapping that out for the 6th pick with the Philadelphia Eagles, that's when I said, oh, you weren't comfortable after all with any of the top 3 receivers in this draft. You weren't comfortable with Waddle or Devontae Smith. You wanted Jamar Chase all along. And you said to yourself, I can't get Jamar Chase at 12. It's not happening. I got to settle for one of the Bama boys at 12 if I don't go back into the top 7 and get my guy. So what they essentially did is they moved back up to 6, and they said to themselves that this is risky. This is risky moving to 6 because I'm not assured anything. But what they said to themselves is they played the draft game in their mind, and they said, okay, first of all, who's at 5? And you look down and you say, oh, it's Cincinnati. Cincinnati's not trading the 5th pick. The Dolphins know that. The first thing they said to themselves is, who's at 5? They looked at the sheet. Oh, it's Cincinnati. Joe Burrow tore his ACL last year. They got to protect this kid. They really didn't do much of anything in free agency to shore up that offensive line. You best believe they're taking a tackle at 5, and they get to take the best tackle in the draft, or at least who they perceive to be the best tackle in the draft. They get to pop the top on the tackle position do the Cincinnati Bengals. They're not moving. You can't pay them. Just like last year when they were number 1 overall, they got offers for number 1. They weren't moving. You couldn't pay them to come off of number 1. You can't get these boys to move off of 5. Now, I won't be as definitive with that as I was last year, that the Bengals weren't going anywhere and they were going to take Joe Burrow. I was explaining this to my homeboy on the phone. We were talking about these deals when they first happened. And I told him, if Cincinnati, because 5 becomes a hot spot if Cincinnati is willing to move, okay? 5 becomes a hot spot just because of the unknown nature of why Miami came back up to 6. If teams are really thirsty for Jamar Chase or even Micah Parsons, because it's got to be one of 2 guys. It's not a tight end. It's not Kyle Pitts. It's not Kyle Pitts, because I don't know if you've been watching. Mike Gesicki is tearing shit up in Miami, okay? It's not Kyle Pitts. They don't need another tight end. It's Jamar Chase or it's Micah Parsons. I think it's Jamar Chase. They did just move on from Kyle Van Noy. It could be Micah Parsons. So the unknown nature of why the Dolphins were so brash to come back up to number 6 has everybody intrigued. And it will have teams inquiring with Cincinnati at number 5 as to, hey, how interested are you in moving? And I explained to my homeboy, I said, this is how it's going to go down. If in Cincinnati's draft room, if they've got their top 3 tackles, let's just say they've got 3 tackles. They're listed in sequential order in terms of their ranking. And let's say their number 1 guy on their board for them is Rashawn Slater. And he's ranked at a 92.6. That's their overall grade for him. And the next guy on their list is Penei Sewell Penei. And they decide, okay, he's a 92.3. And the guy after that for them on their board is Ladisaw. And he is 91.7. They're all closely rated, and you can move back and you're getting essentially the same guy in the eyes of your evaluators in terms of the guys. Now, obviously, Slater rated the best in terms of the grade that you gave him and put him on your draft board, but they're all kind of bunched up together. There's a really negligible difference between the 3 of those guys. So in looking at that, they may be willing to move back because you're still going to get one of those guys, depending on how far somebody's asking you to move back. Obviously, if you're Cincinnati and you're sitting there at 5, you're not looking to move back to 17, okay? Because you may miss out on all 3 of those tackles messing around at 17. But if somebody calls you at 13, somebody calls you at 11 and says, hey, man, I'm trying to get up to number 5. You'll go back there because you know one of those 3 tackles, more likely than not, going to be available, and you should still be able to get your guy. It's risky, because there are no guarantees in this thing, okay? However, you feel confident that one of 3 guys, after knowing that the first 4 picks in the draft are all quarterbacks, and the team that's trading up, they're going to tell you what they're taking, okay? They're going to tell you, hey, I'm coming up to get Jamar Chase. Okay, cool. We don't want him. He's all yours. So they know that's another guy off the board that's not a tackle. So they feel like, hey, I'm moving back 5 picks. I'm moving back 6 picks. I should be able to get my guy at 11. But the more realistic possibility here is that they're not moving. They're not trying to entertain offers. They don't want to chance it. They got a guy in Joe Burrow that looks like he's one of those quarterbacks that's going to lead the charge of the new wave of quarterbacks into the future. He looks like he's got superstar QB written all over him. They don't want to risk his future by putting an inferior offensive line in front of him. I don't think they're moving out of 5. And I think the Dolphins are banking on that. And they're banking on the fact that these guys aren't taking a linebacker, and they're damn sure not taking a wide receiver. They just took one in the 2nd round last year, even though they could use a receiver. Don't get it twisted. They're not taking one at 5. Trust me. So the Dolphins feel really good about that. And they said to themselves, look, we got 2 options here. And if I'm the Dolphins, the only way I come up to 6 is because I know I got 2 guys in my back pocket. 2 guys in my pocket. If the Bengals surprise us, surprise, we're moving out of 5. We packed up all our shit and we're going to go ahead and move back to 10. somebody's coming up to 5, they go, surprise, we got a deal we can't turn down, and they move. You got to be okay with that somebody's coming up to get one of the guys. But you came up to 6 because you said to yourself, either I'm getting this guy or I'm getting that guy. It can't be just one guy that they came up for, because you, again, much like I talked about at number 3 with the 49ers, you can't be assured that the guy you're coming up to get at 6 is going to be there. You can't know that for a fact, because you don't know what Cincinnati's going to do at 5, even though you think. You don't actually know what Cincinnati's going to do. And because of that, the Dolphins have to be smitten with 2 players in particular. And I can tell you who the 2 players are. One's Micah Parsons. The other is Ja'Marr Chase. For me, I think they came up to get Ja'Marr Chase. They were in a position to take him at 3. They got a deal that they could not turn down. It was some sweet action, okay? When you get to pick up 2 future first-round picks just to move back 9 spots, how do you turn that down? And they threw in a little 3rd-round sugar just to make the deal sweet. How do you turn that down? So they said, you know what? We don't have to stay here and get Chase. What we'll do is we'll go call the Eagles. They don't want to stay at 6. They got nothing. Look, they can't speed up the process at 6. They need multiple picks. They need to speed this process up by getting more draft capital. So what we'll do is we'll call the Eagles up at 6, see if they're interested in moving. If they are, we'll come back up. Our guy will still be there. We could have took him at 3, but we got all of this draft capital. We feel damn good about it, and he'll still be sitting there at 6 because Cincinnati's gonna. First of all, the assumption is all quarterbacks are gone in the first 4 picks. Can we agree on that now? Because the Atlanta Falcons are taking a QB. And I've said this all along. Justin Fields is going to be the 4th guy taken of the 4. That's how I feel. That's why I got him ranked. That's how I think it's going to play out. That's how I had it playing out. When I told you guys, I thought Carolina was going to have the chance to take the last quarterback at 8. I thought the hot spot was going to be 7. But as we see, as I've told you guys a million times, and I'm going to tell you a million times more, quarterbacks don't get pushed back. They get pushed up. And so now the first 4 picks in the draft in 2021 are going to be quarterbacks. Bing, bang, boom, bow. Done. Quarterback, 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 quarterback. And I don't know when the last time we've seen it go down that way. But you're going to get Trevor Lawrence to the Jags. You're going to get Zach Wilson to the Jets. You're going to get Trey Lance to the 49ers. And you're going to get Justin Fields, the hometown kid in Georgia, back home with the Atlanta Falcons at 4. And then the draft can begin. Cincinnati's going to take the best tackle that they view in this draft. And then at 6, I think the Dolphins are going to take, wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase. And then let the games begin. I think if you're Detroit, if you really are serious about rebuilding, Micah Parsons at 7 is going to be a damn good piece for somebody. It's a hot spot at 7 for the Detroit Lions. At first blush, they were the biggest losers in today's action. Not named Cam Newton. If we're talking about an entire organization, the Detroit Lions were the biggest losers because their pick became insignificant at 7. It was going to be a hot spot. Got to get in front of Carolina. We know they want a quarterback. Now, all of a sudden, nobody gives a shit about 7, right? That could be the case. But then you could look up. They just lost Kenny Golladay. If the pick at 6 is Micah Parsons, they could be sitting pretty saying, we got Ja'Marr Chase. We just replaced Kenny Golladay. We straight. We lost Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, and we got a Ja'Marr Chase. I feel pretty damn good about that. I don't know about you. Or they could say, we love Micah Parsons, but we don't love him enough to take him. He's not going to change our franchise. So, hey, if y'all are interested, the dude ran a 4.39. What y'all trying to do? Because Carolina, they'll take him. I know they got a lot of linebackers in Carolina. They don't have one that looks like this. Okay, they'll take him at 8. Shit, they lost out on everything else. The Panthers will definitely take Micah Parsons. If nothing else is available, they'll take Micah Parsons. So if you're the Detroit Lions, 7 is really appealing because now other teams may be attracted to either Ja'Marr Chase or Micah Parsons, whomever the Dolphins don't take at 6. But both of those players could actually upgrade the Lions in a tremendous way as well. So a lot of intrigue there. At the end of the day, I think the biggest losers in today's festivities are the Carolina Panthers because after it's all said and done, they did all of this trying to get a quarterback, and they're still stuck with Teddy Bridgewater. Oh my God. That's terrible. They're stuck with Teddy Bridgewater. Now, look, they may ultimately draft, they can't sell anybody on Mac Jones at 8. I'm sorry. That's a hard sell for me. They could get a guy in the second, third round, but that's not as juicy or spicy as getting you one of the top 4 in this draft. They had their heads dead set on getting a guy. I mean, they were ready to mortgage the future to get Deshaun Watson. They were ready to go up and get one of these young guys, and it looks like they're going to strike out on everybody. They were ready to get Matthew Stafford. They were all in on all of these quarterbacks, and they're going to look up, and they're going to come up with nothing. And that, to me, has to be debilitating if you're a Carolina Panthers fan. Look, it's not the end of the world, but damn, you were really looking forward to getting rid of Teddy Bridgewater's ass this offseason, or at least upgrading it to where you didn't have to worry about Teddy Bridgewater just game managing you to death and game managing you to a 7-8 record, which is what they're probably going to be this year with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. So I would imagine that right now the Carolina Panthers are probably the biggest loser from a team standpoint, with all of the madness going on in the top 6 picks of the NFL draft. And the biggest loser from a player standpoint for me is Cam Newton, because the minute the 49ers get their guy, they turn in that card. Roger Goodell announces the pick that Trey Lance is the new quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to trade Jimmy G, and they're going to trade him to the New England Patriots. My guess is a second-round pick. Maybe they're able to convince the 49ers to let him go for a third-rounder. Either way, like I said, he's gone. As good as gone. The minute they get this quarterback, he is done in San Francisco. And Kyle Shanahan, he's done his homework. That's why they're confident in going up. They know that whomever they draft is going to fit his system to a T. What did I tell you guys? Oh my God, it makes too much sense. What did I tell you? I said Trey Lance, and you go watch my breakdown of Trey Lance, and I said this at least 15 times. Trey Lance is the perfect fit for a ZBS, a zone run blocking scheme. You take him, you insert him, and anybody, I told you, in Cleveland, in Minnesota, in San Francisco, this guy is ready to go right out of the packaging in a zone run blocking scheme. He's the quintessential zone run blocking scheme quarterback. He can run boots. He takes care of the football. He can throw the deep ball. He is the perfect guy. That's pretty much the offense they ran at North Dakota State. He is ready to go out of the packaging. Doesn't have to sit and wait a year in San Francisco. He can come in and play right away, which is why Jimmy G is useless to them and why they're going to move him. They just gave up a third-round pick to get up to number 3, a first. Well, I won't count this year's first because they swapped first. But in next year's draft, a first and a third, and then the draft after that, another first. They might get the third-round pick of the Patriots in next year's draft in a second rounder this year, or 2 threes, one this year, one next year, to make up for the loss of a third-round pick that they gave up to come and get the quarterback that they wanted. So in my eyes, Jimmy G's as good as gone now. We know the 49ers are coming up. I think it's for Trey Lance. And I'm gonna drop this gem on your melon too while we're at it. Gilbrandt, the famed evaluator, used to work as the GM for the Dallas Cowboys back in the 60s, was an innovator. He was one of the guys that came up with analytics back in the 60s when computers were just coming into play. They were out in front of everything, head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of scouting. Gilbrandt he's a national treasure in the NFL. Love Gilbrandt to death. And he said that he's talking to teams, and he's got connections all around the league. And he said the guy that has the biggest spread in terms of teams being all over the place with their evaluations on him of the big 4 is Justin Fields. He said he's talked to teams that have him as high as a top 5 pick on their board, and he's talked to teams, and take it with a grain of salt, because if you don't like a guy and you got no chance to draft him, it could be a throwaway line. But he said he's talked to teams that have him as a 4th round quarterback. I don't buy that as much as that sounds like a team that's a little salty. Yeah, I can't get my hands on him. I don't like him anyway. You know how that shit goes. Like, hey, yeah, he all right. Whatever. I can't get my hands on him, so I don't like him anyway. But 4th round is a little bit far-fetched. But if somebody said, I think he's a 2nd round quarterback, I could buy that. I don't love Justin Fields. You guys know that. I think the guy's talented. Let's not kid ourselves. And I think he's a 1st round talent. I myself think that the 49ers are coming up for Trey Lance. It just makes too much sense. And I've said all along, he's the perfect fit for a zone run blocking scheme. And Shanahan, if there's one guy that can get the most out of Trey Lance, it's definitely, without question, Kyle Shanahan. And you know how I feel about Kyle Shanahan and his brilliance as an offensive mind in this league. So that, to me, is essentially this deal. And I got one takeaway for the Philadelphia Eagles in all of this. It's really not a big takeaway because I think a lot of you knew this going into this trade, and like we didn't anticipate this taking place, but you didn't need this trade to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It bears mentioning. So the Eagles, this proves that they're not comfortable with Jalen Hurts. And it was funny because, I had Washington fans saying, well, why can't the Eagles give Jalen Hurts a chance? Somebody in particular was like, hey, why can't the Eagles give Jalen Hurts a chance? All these quarterbacks are getting opportunities. Why aren't the Eagles going to give him a chance? And I'm like, they didn't draft him to be the future of the franchise. They didn't do that. That's not why they selected him last year. Like, people misconstrued why Howie Roseman did what he did last year. Now, I don't think Howie Roseman understood, and this is his fault. He didn't understand what kind of a problem he was creating for himself and the organization by drafting him. You have an insecure quarterback in Carson Wentz who is constantly looking over his shoulder. The big bad man is gone finally in Nicholas Foles, and he can breathe. And before he can even take a deep breath and exhale, you go draft Jalen Hurts. And now the anxiety is back, and it's twofold now. He should have never done that, knowing the psyche of your quarterback, but he drafted him being Jalen Hurts, as an insurance policy. How many times can you watch Carson Wentz get injured and not have a guy behind him that you're confident is going to give your team a chance? Like, we got to stop rolling out. He knew they couldn't hold on to Nicholas Foles any longer. So we can't be rolling out 87-year-old Josh McCown in a playoff game. That shit can't happen. And he knew it, and he said, this is going to be my answer to that. Jalen Hurts, a guy that we've seen come off the bench and quickly microwave it up, get hot, and roast teams like he did in the SEC championship game against Georgia. So they know what this guy is capable of. So that's why he drafted him. He didn't draft him to be the future of this franchise. And if they thought for 1 second Jalen Hurts was the guy, they would have never benched him against Washington. You don't do that to a guy you view as the future franchise quarterback of your organization. You don't bench him at all for no reason. I don't give a shit if you wanted to keep the 6th pick instead of dropping back to 9 or 10 or whatever the hell it was going to be. You don't bench him. That told you all you needed to know. But just in case you didn't know. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody. The Eagles aren't sold on Jalen Hurts. And that's why they wanted Zach Wilson. That was their guy in this draft. You know why? Because Zach Wilson reminds them of Carson Wentz. Off-schedule wizard, a guy that can make shit happen when things break down. They saw a lot of Carson Wentz when he was playing with an abundance of confidence. When we looked at Carson Wentz as a future MVP candidate in 2017 before the injury, Carson Wentz was probably a front runner to win the MVP trophy that year. Offensively, he was on fire. In fuego. And then shit hit the fan. Nicholas Foles comes in, saves the day, wins the Super Bowl, and his psyche was damaged, and it was irreparable damage that was done. Anyway, I said all of that to say this. The Eagles aren't comfortable with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And the fact that they let it be known, that they wanted Zach Wilson and they traded back. And I don't know if that was a PR ploy to kind of satisfy the Eagles fan base that was upset at them trading back when they had a chance to get a stud, whether it be the tight end Kyle Pitts or one of these top flight wide receivers, which they're still in a position to get at 12. That might have been their way to quell them. Like, hey, look, we tried. We really wanted a guy. We couldn't get him, so we moved back. You don't have to explain shit to nobody. And at the end of the day, all you did with that report, and wherever it came from, it doesn't matter. The fact that it's out there, all that does is create more mass hysteria and confusion at the quarterback position, even though we already knew they weren't comfortable with Jalen Hurts being their guy anyway. So that's the final takeaway from everything that happened today. Wow, what a day. March 26th. Who knew? Who knew? All of this could happen in March, over a month away. But that's what happens when you're desperate for a quarterback. You identify a guy and you're like, I got to go get him. I talked about quarterback and it being the most important position, not only in this game, but in sports. If you ask me, in team sports, it's the most important position. 49ers understand that. They know that if Jimmy G was any good, they would have won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And they also know that they can't keep waiting on Jimmy G to stay healthy. He's been injury prone since he got to San Francisco. And they also know Jimmy G's not all that goddamn good. That too is something else they realize as well. Like, okay, we've seen enough of this guy. He's not really that good for us. So we're going to move on. And they've set those dominoes in motion. And we talked this offseason about how the quarterback position was going to be one in turmoil and constant flux, and how Adam Schefter put out that tweet about how he had an over-under on 18 different starting quarterbacks in the 2021 NFL season. I was like, man, that's a little aggressive, Adam. I got to 14, so I'm taking the under. That's still an astronomical number, and I was trying to explain to one of my best friends on the phone that this is a different, unique offseason. We've never seen anything like it in the NFL, not just because of the reduced cap, but because of so many teams being quarterback needy. It's a different day and age in the NFL, and everybody's looking for their guy. The NFL is turning into a version of the NBA, and I know if you're NFL purist like myself, that shit should scare the hell out of you, because we're getting to a point now in the NBA, you don't stand a chance. If you don't have one of the top 5 players in the league, and then that top 5 player has to have 2 more guys with him, one of which that has to be a top 20 player in the league, and then the other guy needs to be in the top 30, 35 or so of the league. If you don't have 3 dudes, or the 2 guys, like in the case of the Lakers, that are top 10 players, if you don't have a situation like that, you don't stand a chance of winning an NBA title. Look at the Nets. They are loaded. Look at the Lakers. They're loaded. Look at the Clippers. Loaded. You can't win in the NBA if you don't have a situation like that. It didn't used to be that way in the NFL. Okay? Teams won Super Bowls with Trent Dilfer at quarterback, with Nicholas Foles at quarterback. That landscape is rapidly changing to where if you don't have a Tom Brady, if you don't have a Josh Allen, if you don't have a Patrick Mahomes, if you don't have a Deshaun Watson, if you don't have a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, you don't stand a damn chance. And that is prompting teams to look for the next ... at the quarterback position. And so everybody, it's an arms race. If you don't have one of these dudes, you don't stand a chance. Now, what you're trying to do is debunk that theory by having a middle of the road quarterback, a top 15, 16 in the league guy with an elite defense. You might be able to get by with that. But as we've seen, you better have one of them elite things at the quarterback position, because if you don't, more likely than not, you're not making it to the postseason, or you're not going to find your way out of the divisional round if you can get there. You see the Rams, okay? The reason they decided Jared Goff wasn't good enough is because they got to the Super Bowl and they scored 3 points. And then they get to the divisional round and Jared Goff simply isn't good enough. And I cut him a break. A lot of people are hard on Jared Goff. He had a broken thumb, man. He just had screws put in his thumb. He went out and he gutted it out. He gave him a shot, but Sean McVay realized a long time ago, hey, this ain't the guy. He ain't it. He ain't it. So, I'm just telling you right now, if you don't have one of those dudes, an alpha at the quarterback position, you don't stand a chance. And the 49ers are showing you, we'll do whatever it takes to get one of those guys. Because we feel like when we get all our stuff back on defense, we're ready to compete. We're ready to go right back where we were 2 years ago when we were dominant defensively. And this time we'll have a quarterback that we think is ready to push us over the top. So I find all of this fascinating. I love this shit, man. I love it. I love it. I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Love it. All right. We're gonna get a word from one of our sponsors, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to get to your comments in the comment section. So start loading them up. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read. If you have something to say that's pertinent, I will read it. I think I've got a couple of super chats, so I'm going to take those first. If you want to jump the line, super chats are the way to do it, but use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. Let's get a word from one of our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored and brought to you by Manscaped. Look, Manscaped is one of the best grooming products for males on the market. I use their products, two of them in particular. I use their Crop Preserver. That's the ball deodorant. You put that on after you get out of the shower, thoroughly towel off your balls, dry them, and then you apply the Crop Preserver again. As I've mentioned to you many a times, you don't wait until you get musty under your arms to apply deodorant, right? So why would you do that with your balls? Get out of the shower, apply the Crop Preserver, all right? The ball deodorant gets you started. If you feel like you're heading over to that musty side before you go, couple squirts of the Crop Reviver, which is my go-to guy. Little spray, couple of squirts under there, gets you right back in the game where you need to be. And if you want to eliminate all of these issues, okay, because the reason it stinks down there in the first place is because you got too much damn hair. So that's when the 3.0 lawnmower comes into play. And you can use that. They've got skin-safe technology on their lawnmower 3.0, so you're not going to get nicked up. You can use it anywhere on your body. I choose to use it on my chest because I got a lot of taco meat. And so you get all these products in the perfect package. It's a great deal. Go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code LouieT for 20% off of your purchase and free shipping. That's manscaped.com. Use the promo code LouieT for 20% off of your purchase and free shipping. Look, unlock your confidence and use the right tools to do the job. And trust me, when I tell you this, your balls will thank you. So, I want to get to social media maneuvers and allow you guys to pretty much take over the show here. I want react to these trades and what you guys think. So let's talk about all of the things that I had to say, maybe some thoughts you guys have, maybe I missed something, maybe you got a different angle of how you view things in this trade. I want to kind of get to what you guys have to say. So without any further ado, let's jump into the comment section and see what is being said. I see a super chat, so I'm going to jump on that first. Kerry Williamson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kerry Williamson writes, load up on defense. Linebacker, top 2 picks, Collins, Cox. That is definitely something that they might look to do. We'll see what they decide to do with those draft selections. Got another super chat here. This one is from J Mart. Thank you for the super chat, J Mart. Greatly appreciate you. J Mart writes, wide receiver room is packed. Who do you see as the odd man out? Again, I don't know what they're going to decide to do. But Kelvin Harmon, there's a report out there that's floating around. Don't know how true it is. Can't confirm nor deny it or the validity of it. But rumors are he's converting to tight end. That's interesting. That makes a ton of sense. if that is in fact something that they're exploring with him. We already know that they're going to trim this room down to 5 or 6 guys, just depending on the number of talent guys that they have in the room that they feel are talented enough to be on the roster, and whether they can trim off fat somewhere else to allow them to keep 6. That number may be 5 like it was last year, and if it is 5, because of the relaxed rules of the practice squad, they may not feel inclined to keep 6. It may be 5. And right now, if there's no Kelvin Harmon in the mix, it's an easy 5. If Kelvin Harmon is included in that group, then you have 6. Then you have some tough decisions to make. So right now, it's hard to say. I think the wide receiver room may not even be done yet. They could take a receiver in the draft, and that could add some more competition and talent to that room. So hard to say right now. After the draft, that's when we can start having those discussions of odd man out, this, that, and the third. But you want to get through camp. You want to make sure everybody's healthy. Then we can start really having those types of conversations. So let's run through these comments. Gregory Lightbody says, don't let Snyder see this. He will trade all the way up to 4 if he has to. They're not trading up to 4 for a quarterback. It's not happening. And again, what you have to understand is it takes 2 to tango. You don't just get to make the rules. I want a quarterback, so I'm going up to number 4. The Falcons have to say, okay, we'll move back. Falcons aren't moving out of 4. They don't plan on being this bad again. Okay, you have to think about these situations and these teams and these organizations from their perspective. You can't have a one-sided view of this. The Falcons don't plan on being bad. They had some misfortunes in 2020, okay? Their season easily could have been one that was 11-5. They should have won their first 4 or 5 games of the season. Dan Quinn should not have been fired if they knew how to close out ball games, but they didn't. Raheem Morris takes over, and he has a heartbreaking loss to the Detroit Lions where Todd Gurley doesn't go in the end zone. They win the damn football game, more likely than not. And he had some tough losses, like the loss against the Chiefs late in the season. They easily could have been 11-5. They don't plan on being bad like this again to be in a position to take a quarterback. So they're not moving out of number 4. They're taking a quarterback because they know they're on borrowed time with Matt Ryan. So trust me, they're not moving out of 4. They're taking a quarterback because in their minds, we're not going to be this high again. Not with Matt Ryan, not with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and all the talented guys they have on that football team. They're not going to be back here again. They're not going to be back here again. So they view this opportunity as almost found money, new money. Like, whoa, where'd we get this from? Hey, we don't know, but we're going to spend it. And they're going to get that quarterback. Gregory Lightbody says, is it possible we see another trade before the draft happens? I doubt it. Because, again, when you trade up with guarantees in mind. You got 1 guarantee or 2 guarantees, a contingency plan in case plan A falls through. You got a contingency plan. You don't just trade up willy-nilly in the draft. Generally, we don't see trades commenced until draft day. Why? Because I need to know my guy is there for me to take. So I think what we could start to see in the NFL, which is another NBA thing that hasn't infiltrated the NFL yet, but I think it's something that's a realistic possibility, is you could start seeing teams take a guy for another team. I can't get up there to you. Hey, check me out. Take my guy at 11. I'll take your guy at 19, and we can swap. So you can start seeing that happen as well. You know, it's a lot harder to have that happen because, again, how do I know my guy is going to be there at 19? I don't know that. But if you feel like your guy is going to be there at 19 and I can pick up additional draft capital, you could do a deal like that. But as far as pre-draft trades, they're rare because you don't know that your guy is going to be there. In the case of the 49ers, as I laid out for you, they already know their guy is going to be there because they're comfortable with one of 3 guys. So they're saying, anytime you're in the top 5 of the draft, you just make a list of, if you're at 5, you make a list of 5 guys. Guess what? One of your 5 guys is going to be there. If you're at 4, you make a list of 4 guys. One of your 4 guys is going to be there. Same thing with 3, 2, and you don't have to do it at 1 because you get to take the best guy. So that's the mindset that the 49ers have. We got a list of 3 guys. One of them is going to be at 3. We're cool with any one of them They are assuming Trevor Lawrence is going at 1 and Zach Wilson is going at 2, which is a great assumption to make. They want Trey Lance. They think that Trey Lance is going to be there at 3, which I would assume he's going to be there. If the Jets surprise everyone and take Justin Fields at 2, they say, cool, Zach Wilson fits our offense to a T as well. We'll take him instead. They're comfortable with 3 quarterbacks, and one of those 3 is going to be there. So you can't ensure that when you trade up in the draft anywhere else, really. And so even at 6, there's no guarantees for the Dolphins. But they've reconciled in their brain that Cincinnati's not moving and they're taking a tackle. So they, in their mind, are saying, we know the first 4 picks are quarterbacks, so we're going to write it in pencil, but they could go ahead and write it in marker. They can write it in pen. It's 4 quarterbacks. So they're saying, we just need one guy to come off the board in front of us, and we'll get our guy at 6. They're making that known by going up to 6. They already are making that assumption, and it's a really smart assumption to make. That's why they felt comfortable trading back up to 6, because they're going to get their guy. But if you trade to 8, there's no telling what's going to happen. And there's no telling that if you're at 8 and you want one of 2 guys, fine. Because we can play that game now. If you get to 8, and let's say you're the Panthers, or matter of fact, not 8, let's say 7, Detroit, because I made this point earlier. Let's say that you want to trade up into the top 10 and you want to get to 7 to Detroit. You could trade up to 7 right now before the draft. Why? Because we can play the game I just played. We can go down the list. First 4 picks, all quarterbacks. The 5th pick, offensive tackle. The 6th pick, either a wide receiver or a linebacker. Let's say you want Kyle Pitts. You trade to 7, you're getting Kyle Pitts. That's how you go into the process thinking, I want Kyle Pitts. But if Kyle Pitts isn't available, guess what? I'm perfectly fine taking Jamar Chase or Micah Parsons. So you go to 7 knowing 3 guys. One of those 3 is going to be there at 7. I'm fine with that. You can see that happen. So I take that back. We may see one more trade. 7 to me is the last place you can trade up into. Other than that, I don't see how we see any more pre-draft trades. The rest of them would happen on draft night. Got some super chats, so I'm gonna go ahead and take those. Got a super chat from Joe C. Thank you for the super chat, Joe C. Greatly appreciate it. Before I take this super chat from Joe C, I need to quickly ask you guys out there to subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I'm going to try my best to start notifying you guys, because I've had various people tell me they're not getting notifications from YouTube despite having the notification bell turned on. The best I can tell you is make sure you turn the notification bell on. If it's on already and you're not getting notifications, turn it off and turn it back on and see if that works. I'm going to start trying to post on my socials, on IG and on Twitter, that I'm going live in advance of me going live, so that if you're following me on those platforms, you will have extra notification that I'm going live. That's the best I can do for you. I'm going to try to be better about that. But also, hit the like button. Only 55 likes, almost 200 of you out there need to get this thing up to 100 before this thing is said and done. So if you haven't hit the like button to this point, please do so. Let's get this to 75 first, and then we can talk about hitting the century mark. So if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate you, and I'm thanking you in advance. So Joe C, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man Joe C writes, what up, Lou? How do you feel about the Clowney situation in Cleveland? Do you think he is a good fit? Do you think he will sign with the Browns? I think it is an excellent fit for Jadeveon Clowney. Wherever he signs, he doesn't need to be the alpha there, because we saw what happened in Tennessee. If you're relying on Jadeveon Clowney to come in and upgrade your defensive line and be the guy, you're in trouble. What you want him to do is to be a cog, a piece, an added benefit. If you add him to your defensive line, that he makes it complete, but if you take him away, you can still function and you won't go to hell in a handbasket. Cleveland's got a ton of talent up front, but they did lose Larry Ogunjobi, a guy that I really like. Obviously, they're not going to have their other defensive end, Olivier Vernon, back, so they need a guy. They could use a guy, and a guy as talented as Jadeveon Clowney. He's the only free agent left in my top 23 unsigned. I think he's going to ultimately find his way to a place like Cleveland, and he'd be a tremendous fit in Cleveland. So honestly speaking, if I were Jadeveon Clowney, that would be the perfect scenario for me, because you're playing next to a superstar, and we see how that guy elevates your play 1 and 2. He also elevates your production, because nobody's paying attention to Jadeveon Clowney when we got Myles Garrett out there wreaking havoc. So we want to make sure we double team his ass. Now you're getting one-on-one opportunities. If you're Clowney, you got a chance to put up something that you haven't done in your career, double-digit sacks. And if you can do that, guess what? Now you can parlay that into a payday. Let's say you sign a 1-year deal, you stay healthy, and you ball this year. You get 11.5 sacks, and you just were a havoc wreaker. You could parlay that into some big money, which is what he's ultimately been looking for since he became a free agent, leaving Houston. So I would sign with Cleveland if I were him. It'd be a tremendous fit for their defense. He's exactly what they need on that defensive line, a guy opposite of Myles Garrett, and it would be a tremendous fit for him. And I wouldn't sign a long-term deal if I were him. I would just sign a 1-year deal. And I think that's all Cleveland is interested in signing him to anyway. But they want some guarantees from him, and they want to put that in the contract. And that might be, a deal breaker for Jadeveon Clowney. He wants some money up front. They're like, bro, I can't let you do what you did to Tennessee to us. I need reassurances here. I need to be able to put a couple of stipulations in the contract. You want all this money, you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to play a certain amount of snaps, and you're going to have to hit a couple of benchmarks from a production standpoint if you want all this bread. So that might be one of the sticking points as to why that deal may or may not get done. We'll see what happens, but it is a great fit. Thank you for the super chat, Joe C. Rich O'Flair, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Rich O'Flair, who writes, trade up for Pitts, or stay at 19 and get a middle linebacker. I would trade up for Pitts. You know how I feel about him, but at the same time, after seeing what it took to go up into the top 10, which I still believe it's going to take a top 10 pick. I mean, if you're Carolina, look, you got to get something elite, man. And you're either saying to yourself, all right, we're going to come away with 1 and 3 players. We're either getting Jamar Chase, we're getting Micah Parsons, or we're getting Kyle Pitts. We're not leaving 8. We're going to stay here and get one of these guys. We didn't get a quarterback, but we can continue to build. And so when we do get the quarterback, he'll be ready to rock and roll. You lost Curtis Samuel in free agency. Okay, cool. No sweat. We'll go ahead and add Jamar Chase to the mix. Oh, I don't have a stud linebacker. I lost Luke Kuechly. I'm looking to replace him. Cool. All right, I got Micah Parsons now. Or you could say, I haven't had a beast tight end since Grego left his prime about 3 years ago. I could sure use an upgrade there. I can tell you, Ian Thomas ain't it. Trust me. They're still good. They just wanted a quarterback more than anything else. So you'd have to trade up to probably 8. I would presume 7 or 8. That's gonna take a lot, man. After seeing what the Dolphins were able to fleece the Dolphins, and look, I'm not mad at the 49ers for giving up what they gave up, because if you think you're getting the guy, no price is too steep in the draft. When you're just giving up capital, if you're not giving up any additional players, no price is too steep to get the guy. We're not talking about a quarterback. We're talking about a tight end. I don't know if I'm willing to part ways with what it's going to take to get a tight end. The only way I'm willing to give up what I think it's going to ultimately take to get a player the caliber of a Kyle Pitts is if we're going up for a quarterback. So I would just stand pat at 19 and take a middle linebacker if that were the case. I got another super chat. This one is from Ishmael Benitez. Thank you for the super chat, Ishmael Benitez. Greatly appreciate you, my man. Ishmael writes, 49ers gave up a whole lot for the third. What would it take to get to the Jets second in case they decide to roll with Darnold? They're not rolling with Darnold, okay? Trust me. First of all, put on your thinking cap. We're out of the Gem Droppin Session, but I'm going to drop another gem on your melon just in case you weren't thinking like this. Because when things like this happen, I think in depthly. I get in deep. I'm reading in between the lines, and we're getting in deep, man. I'm knee deep in this shit. I mean, I was out at the mall, and all I could think about was this trade. It was like crazy to me. Do you not think the 49ers approached the Jets first with this deal that they gave the Dolphins? Do you not think that if you're going to come all the way up, you're going to give up all of this draft capital, you're going to try to get as high as you can possibly get? Okay? So put yourself in the 49ers position for a second. If I'm going all the way up to 3 to get a quarterback, and I might love 2 of them, I like 3 of them, but the third one, he's not that far back. I'll settle for him because I know he can run my system and I feel really good about him. But trust me, if they could get their hands on Zach Wilson, I think that's what they would prefer to do. Okay, Zach Wilson looks like Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Wilson and all of these boys that we look at and say they could be future MVPs in the league. He looks like them. So trust me, if they could get to 2, they would do that. And if it takes an additional second round pick in what they just gave up, you think they wouldn't do that in a heartbeat to get up to number 2 to ensure that they get Zach Wilson instead of Trey Lance? You're damn right they would have done that. They called the Jets first. Hey, y'all willing to move out of 2? What's good? The Jets said, hell no. 12? Hell no. You crazy. And all that means is, hey, you really think we rolling with Sam Darnold? We've been talking this shit all season long because we trying to push up the price on Sam so on draft day we can pull the wool over somebody's damn eyes. We ain't keeping Sam Darnold's ass. We getting a quarterback. That's why they didn't move out of 2. So if you're asking me what it is going to take to get the Jets out of 2, a whole hell of a lot, but they're not moving. They're not moving. The 49ers called them first and they got shut down. So they said, okay, no worries. We figured that was the answer. But a wise man once told me the worst they can tell you is no. The worst they can tell you is no. So they picked up the phone. They called the Jets. The Jets said, no, not no, hell no, and hung up the phone. And the Dolphins and the 49ers said, I expected that. So they then picked up the phone and they called up the Miami Dolphins, and they knew the Dolphins were more than willing to move out of that spot. But the Dolphins said, hold on, I'm going to call you right back. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to call you right back. Then they picked up the phone. They called up Philadelphia and said, look, I had a sweet-ass deal in place, but I'm only going to do it if I can get you on board with this. And they would say, hey, don't worry about it, man. We good. We ain't got shit here keeping us at 6. We'll do the deal with you. Cool. I'm going to call you right back. Don't go nowhere. They hung up with them, called back the 49ers and said, hey, you got a deal. They hung up the phone, called back the Eagles and said, hey, still think we can get that deal with Rockefeller? They did. So the Jets, you're right. The 49ers gave up a lot, but it's, again, no price is too steep to get the guy. If you think that's the guy, the price isn't too steep. But the Jets aren't going anywhere. So we don't even need to come up with a hypothetical what it's going to cost to get the Jets out of 2 because those boys aren't moving. The 49ers are now. I can say this because the Jets want a quarterback. The only way you can get the Jets out of 2 is if you could guarantee them they could get to 4. Well, why would the Falcons come up to 4 when they know they're getting a quarterback or come up to 2 when they know they're getting a quarterback at 4? The Falcons are like, look, I ain't giving up shit. Somebody's going to fall in my lap. It may not be necessarily the guy I want, but I'm cool with it either way. If it's Justin Fields, if it's Trey Lance, it ain't going to be Zach Wilson. They know that. But if it's Justin Fields, it's Trey Lance, we'll take whatever table scraps are left at the quarterback position. No worries. They're the scavengers in all of this. Whatever's left, we're more than happy to take. That's the only way the Jets would move out of 2 is if you tell me, you could say, hey, you're going to get something at quarterback. They probably like, oh, okay, cool. You can't guarantee them that at any other pick than in the top 4. And nobody in the top 4 is moving. Everybody's pretty much locked in where they are. Now, could the Jets say, hey, San Francisco, you want to move up to, number 2? That could have been a possibility, but the 49ers aren't going to do 2 deals to get up 1 more spot. And they've already given up all the draft capital they would have given to the Jets had they wanted to make the deal. So they're not going. Everybody's locked in the top 4. The top 4 isn't changing. Everybody's pretty much locked into where they're going to be. And we know they're going to be 4 quarterbacks selected. We just don't know the order yet. I can tell you, I think I know what the order is. It's Lawrence, it's Wilson, it's Lance, it's Fields. That's the way I see it going down. Thank you for that super chat, Ishmael Benitez. Kerry Williamson, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Kerry Williamson. Greatly appreciate you. Kerry Williamson writes, Deshaun is innocent. As a victim of a false rape claim, Watson is a man of integrity. No woke here. Need to go get Watson on the cheap right now, Washington football team. Well, he's not going to be cheap regardless of any accusations that are being flung around, and they're wild accusations, and there are a lot of them. But at the end of the day, I can't say that he's innocent. I don't know him. He seems like a man of integrity. You think you know, you have no idea. I don't know him personally. Maybe you do. I don't. So I can't say what he is or what he isn't. All I know is it's a tough spot for him to be in. And I was talking to my buddy, and I said this. And again, this is no indictment on Watson, because shit can happen. All right. Wrong place, wrong time. You could end up getting got. But I said, this doesn't happen to guys that don't put themselves in a position for this to happen to. We've never heard of, now, like, you know, it's funny because Peyton Manning got into some shit in college at Tennessee. Okay. He put himself in a position to get into some shit. But, you know, generally speaking, we don't hear guys like Josh Allen. We won't hear about Josh Allen and shit like this. You know, Drew Brees, we won't hear about anything like this with Drew Brees. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak for anybody else out there, but we haven't heard about shit like this with Tom Brady. You know, Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers. Like, you don't put yourself in these positions, then shit like this usually doesn't happen. I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but he put himself in a vulnerable position. Whatever happened, he put himself in a vulnerable position to allow something like this to be claimed. So, for whatever it's worth, I'm going to let the process play out. I don't know any of the facts. I don't know who's telling the truth, who's not. I don't try to guess in these situations. We're just going to let this situation play itself out. But I can tell you this, whether these accusations prove to be false or true, he won't be cheap either way. And guess what? The Texans aren't moving him. I've been pretty adamant about this the entire time. And I think this makes it a lot easier for them to say, hey, Deshaun, we love you. Everybody else is turning their back on you. We are here for you. We're in your corner. When everybody else shunned you and everybody else turned their back on you, we love you here in Houston. We care about you. Come home. He's not going anywhere, man. That's the way I see it. Got another super chat, third super chat from Kerry Williamson. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you for tripling up. Kerry Williamson writes, draft Collins and Cox with the first 2 picks. Who is Collins? Who is Collins? Who is this guy you're talking about? Collins. Am I missing something? Who's Collins? Zaven Collins and Cox with the first 2 picks. I mean, it's possible. Collins will be there at 19 for Washington to select if they want him. And I think that there's a chance, a slim one though, that Jabril Cox would be there at 51. Highly unlikely though. You probably would have to move up to get him if you wanted him bad enough. But sorry for the brain fart. Thank you for that super chat, Kerry Williamson. Let's get back to the comment section. And we left off right here with my man Ree, who says, Lou, why re-sign Cam Newton if they want Jimmy G? So I was talking to my homeboy about this because he asked me the same question. And you got to think critically about these things. They didn't know Jimmy G was going to come available. They want Jimmy G. But in this game of quarterback musical chairs, you can't get left without a seat. So instead of waiting on Jimmy G to come available and waiting for something to happen, you got to go out and ensure that in case he never comes available, you got a guy. Okay? What you don't want to do is say, Jimmy G is going to come available, the 49ers are going to end up doing something, and he's going to fall into our lap. So we're going to just sit here and we're going to wait. You know what that gets you? That gets you starting Jarrett Stidham week 1. Or that gets you starting Brian Hoyer week 1. And your season's done before it starts. That's what that gets you. So instead of putting yourself in that position as the Patriots, you bring the guy that ran your offense last year back. So he should be a year more comfortable in your system, in your scheme, and you surround him with talent, because a lot of what we felt like was some of the shortcomings of the Patriots was they didn't have any talent around Cam. For as bad as he played, man, it wasn't shit out there around him either, man. They didn't make it easy on Cam. So for me, they said, we got to get a guy just in case I don't make it home tonight. Just in case Jimmy don't make it home tonight, let me just make sure we got a guy that won't allow our season to go to hell in a handbasket. So they made sure they covered their bases. That contract they signed Cam Newton to, as I mentioned, it wasn't worth the paper it was on. The report was 1 year, $14 million. That's a 1 year, $5 million deal, essentially. The Patriots don't give a shit about that. They can get out of that contract. It's a bunch of incentives. It's not a ton of guaranteed money. Trust me, if they can get their hands on Jimmy G, they ain't thinking about Cam Newton. Okay? So that's why they re-signed Cam Newton. Everybody wants to make sure. There were only about 5 or 6 quarterbacks in this game of veteran quarterback musical chairs that you could go out and get this offseason. It was Cam Newton. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick. It was Andy Dalton. It was Tyrod Taylor. And it was Jacoby Brissett. It was 5 guys. And Jameis Winston, 6. If you didn't have one of those 6, you were screwed. So you wanted to make sure, hey, let me just get mine while it's here to be got. All right? So they went and got their one, and they said, look, if all else fails, if we can't get Mac Jones at 15, if we can't trade for Jimmy G, at least we got Cam Newton, and he knows the system, and we feel confident that he'll be better than he was last year. That's the thought process there. So that's why they did what they did. Got another comment here. This is from Ree. Ree says, I have family who are Niners fans, and they want to keep Jimmy. I just don't get what is so star-spangled awesome about him. Look, I've defended Jimmy for a while in San Francisco. Like, he's not the worst in the world like people try to portray him. But Jimmy has limitations, and he's holding that team back. He's holding that team back. He's not the worst in the world, though. Like, people try to make it, Jimmy G is so awful. No, he's not the worst in the world. You could do a hell of a lot worse than Jimmy G. Trust me. Okay? But that's not what teams are out to get in this league. I just explained why. Like, if you want a legitimate chance to win in this league and win big, you don't want to have Derek Carr as your quarterback. And no offense to Derek Carr. What did I tell y'all about the phrase no offense or no disrespect to? Every word after the conjunction that follows that phrase is going to be disrespect. No disrespect to Derek Carr. No offense to Derek Carr, but Derek Carr is as average gets in terms of middle of the pack quarterbacks. He'll never be elite. You can win with Derek Carr. You won't win a Super Bowl unless the defense and the team around him is elite. You're not winning a Super Bowl with Derek Carr. And that's okay. Not everybody's going to win the Super Bowl, but at least he gives you a fighting chance. But if you really want to win, if you're serious about winning the Super Bowl, Jimmy G is one of those guys that might be able to get you there, but you better have everything be elite around him. And look what they had in 2019. The defense was as good a defense as we've seen in quite some time, okay? Probably since the 2015 Denver Broncos. That defense carried that football team. They had some elite weapons around him, including Deebo Samuel, who was a rookie, and, of course, tight end George Kittle. But the running game was elite. That running game was dynamic. Any running game featured by Kyle Shanahan is going to be dynamic any damn way. I don't care who the hell. Give me some time to get into shape. I'm running my little 4.5 and I can get 1,000 yards with Kyle Shanahan's scheme. Okay? The guy's a genius in the run game. So at the end of the day, they can, instead of just hoping that Jimmy G is good enough, why not go get you a guy that is good enough? And that's where the 49ers are. That's where the Rams are. I don't want to wait for Jared Goff or hope that Jared Goff plays well enough. I'm going to go get a guy that's going to play well enough. That's where teams are. Reed, you should know more than anybody else. You shouldn't be asking these questions. But I know this isn't for you. This is for your family members. But that's why that they need to upgrade. And you're saying, I don't know why they like Jimmy. Jimmy's not terrible. But they got to understand if they want to win a Super Bowl, they need to upgrade the quarterback position. Reese says, Lou, now that Fournette is back, I don't know who we take at 32. It's either a quarterback or we're going to get out of the pick. BA loves Sam Ehlinger, apparently. I love Sam Ehlinger, too. Love is a strong word. I like Sam Ehlinger a lot. 32 is always a great spot to be in. One, more likely than not, you're the Super Bowl defending champion, so it's a great pick to have. It's also a great trade bait pick. So I don't know if it'll be a great trade bait pick or not this year, because it's always better when it's a quarterback available that somebody may want to come up and take, like Teddy Bridgewater back in 14 or Lamar Jackson back in 18. It's always better when, or 17, excuse me. It's always better when it's a quarterback there that everybody's staring at wanting to take. I think he was 18 actually. 18, 19, 20, yeah, 18. So you might be able to get out if you can't. Like, Tom Brady isn't going to play forever. So you, like you said, a quarterback, but what quarterback are you taking at 32? Mac Jones is long gone. You're not taking a quarterback at 32. So with Fournette coming back, just because he came back doesn't mean you don't need to draft a running back. I mean, how do you feel about Keyshawn Vaughn? One of my best friends is a Buccaneers fan. He can't stand Keyshawn Vaughn. Was glad that they didn't see any more of him. You got Rojo. You got Fournette back on a 1-year deal. If you really don't love Keyshawn Vaughn, and he was like a 5th-round draft pick, just draft a running back. Why the hell not? Anyway, I digress. Or you could draft a tight end. I mean, get it while the getting's there to be got, because more likely than not, you're going to move on from your first-round tight end from 4 years ago after the season. So, or you could even trade him. Why not draft a tight end? Just a thought. I know y'all got another young boy that was getting some run last year, but I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Anyway, I digress. Kevin the PRF writes, can't stop believing the Washington football team fantasy football scenarios. Carolina takes Pitts. If Jones is at 19, Washington trades Jones and a 22 first round for whatever late rounders throw in for Pitts. Yeah, hell no. That shit. But that's like the basketball scenario that I brought up. Again, the only way Mac Jones has a remote chance of getting to 19 is if the trade for Jimmy G takes place before the Patriots are on the clock at 15. If they're not sure, they're going to take Mac Jones. They're going to take Mac Jones. But I like I said, once the deal got made for the 49ers to get up to 3, and once they turn in the card with their guy's name on it and the pick is announced, you're going to shortly thereafter hear that Jimmy G's been traded to the New England Patriots. So that makes it more likely that Jones is available at 15 or at 19, excuse me. But why would Carolina, I guess in your scenario, they're picking up some draft capital, so they take Pitts and then they trade for Jones. Instead of taking him at 8 and not getting anything else in addition to him, you take Pitts, then you trade. That's the basketball scenario that I was talking about, where you see in the NBA all the time, two teams, they take a guy that they want, they ended up taking another guy, and they say, hey, you want the guy I took? I'll take a guy for you here at 15. I want the guy you took at 8. All right, tell you what, take this guy at 15 and trade us your first round pick next year, and we'll call it even. Cool. It's not happening. If Washington takes a quarterback, they're taking a quarterback because they want that quarterback. They're not taking a quarterback for somebody else. It ain't happening. So yeah, you can continue on with the fantasy football scenarios. That shit isn't happening though. Kevin the PRF says, the dying need for an elite quarterback to win a title is because the league rules play flag football with quarterbacks. Ever think the free agent market tips back to the defense with the same QBs in the Super Bowl every year? That is a distinct possibility. But offense, we've said this a million times. It's a cliche, but it's true. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships. We saw that in this year's Super Bowl. All we talked about was, oh my God, this is going to be a shootout. Mahomes versus Brady, two big-time quarterbacks. You know, the young upstart versus the wily, cagey, GOAT veteran. Oh, this is going to be crazy. It's going to be 38-35. It's going to be 41-38 like the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl. Defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. So while everybody was so excited to see these explosive, dynamic offenses, oh my God, defense reigned supreme and kicked ass. The Patriots and the Rams 3 years ago was supposed to be this crazy shootout. Remember, the Rams was putting up 50 and 40 on everybody that year. Jared Goff was playing out of his gourd. The Patriots, we know they can score with the best of them. This is going to be 48-45. Last team with the football wins. It's 13-3, man. Like, at the end of the day, we can talk about these quarterbacks, and you have to have one or you won't get there. You won't get there. But you also need to play some damn defense too, okay? And the 49ers got there 2 years ago with defense. They didn't have the quarterback. That's why they lost the damn game. So defense will never go out of style. But the need for having a quarterback, you have to understand that if you want to compete in this league, you need one of those guys, because it's just hard to outduel Brady and Rodgers and, Mahomes and Watson and Wilson and Allen and all of these guys that we see, and even the young up-and-comers like Joe Burrow, if he figures it out, and Lamar Jackson, throw him in there as well. Like, you might get past one of them with a mediocre quarterback and some defense. You ain't getting past 2 or 3 of these boys, though. That's the thing. Somebody's going to get you eventually. You can't keep getting by with Jimmy G at quarterback. You might beat Aaron Rodgers, well, guess what? You ain't beating Patrick Mahomes. You ain't getting both of them. You can get one. You ain't getting both of them. That's why the Buccaneers were able to get all the way to the Super Bowl as a wild card and win it. Because, if they had Jameis Winston and they were having this stellar season defensively and Winston was playing well, yeah, Winston might have been able to get them past Washington and maybe past Drew Brees, who was very, very, very compromised. But he wasn't getting past Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. The buck was going to stop somewhere, because at some point, that elite quarterback is going to have to make some plays for your ass. Anyway, I digress. Got a couple of super chats here. Damian Moore, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Damian Moore writes, Mac Jones at 19 if he's there. No. We did that already. No. I wouldn't do it. But that's just me. But they were at the Alabama Pro Day. But that's just me. I wouldn't do it at 19. J Mart, thank you for the super chat and doubling it up. Double up. My man J Mart writes, chance we sneak back into the first round like 2019. Just depends on what's there and what tickles their fancy. There's always a chance to sneak back in the first round for any team that's already selected in the first round, because there are always teams at the back end of the first round looking to get out. We just talked to a Buccaneers fan, my man Ree, who's like, I don't know what the hell we're going to do at 32. That's usually the case for the Super Bowl winning team, is like, I don't really know what the hell we're going to do at 32. They're always looking to get out at the back end of the first round. You'll find 2 or 3 teams that are willing to move if you want to come back in. So, yeah, you can sneak back in. It's going to cost you probably your second round pick this year and your second round pick next year. But if you find a guy that you feel like, look, man, this guy is legit, and you get an extra year of service out of him on that rookie deal, that 5th year option, and you're like, man, this guy can help us right now. Yeah, sure. I don't know if Washington does that or not. I could see them saying, look, we don't need to get back into the first round for, say, a Nick Bolton. Let's say they love Bolton. I love Nick Bolton. And let's say they love Nick Bolton. He's sitting there as we go to day 2. You know that the top of the draft of the second day is like trade bait central. Like, everybody's talking today, that night of the draft, first day, as it's over, you start talking about, hey, how can I get to 33 or 35 or 36 to get my guy? The spillage, as I like to call it, the leftovers from the first round. Guys that have first round grades, but, only 32 guys can go in the first round. So there's a spillage. How can I get up into the first 4 or 5 picks of the second round and get my guy? I can see Washington not necessarily trading back into the first round, but saying, hey, let me get up into those first 5 picks to get my guy. I can see them doing that, packaging up one of their 3s and their 2 to move up to 35 to get Nick Bolton. I could see that happening more so than I could see them coming back into the first round. All right. So with that said, let's see. We'll take a couple more comments. Niners fan says, Lou, I could care less who we take at 3. Shanahan can work his magic with any quarterback. You're right about that, but you want a special guy, a guy that fits your scheme better than just any guy, right? And you want to take your team to the next level, get that guy. And I feel like Trey Lance is the quintessential zone run blocking scheme type of quarterback. I mean, he's going to run the shit out of that scheme to a T, to perfection. And so would Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson transcends scheme. So he'd be a fit in anybody's offense. But I think they're coming up for Trey Lance, and I think he's going to be an ideal fit in that offense, if you ask me. Captain Spartan 04 says, so Jags, T-Law, Jets, Zach, 49ers, Fields, Falcons, Lance, Panthers, Watson. Panthers, Watson. You think a deal's getting done? Okay. Pats, Jimmy G. Washington, Mac Jones. Bears, Trask. Guys, short end of the stick. Cam, Kyle Allen, Foles / Dalton, and loser of Teddy, Tyrod. That's interesting. He's trying to put a quarterback in every destination. That is very, very interesting, to say the least. I don't see Watson getting traded, but the Panthers have been all in on him, and that would make a lot of sense if he were to get traded. Kevin, the PRF, says, you say no trades before the draft, but someone is going to pitch something for Darnold. All these moves today with the Jets. Pat, it's no secret. He said it's the Pats. It's no secret. He's gone. Absolutely, he's gone. But again, why do you need to make that move now? Deadlines spur action and spur deals. Why do you need to do it in March? Sam Darnold will be there in April, on the 29th of April. He might even be there on the 30th of April, the second day of the draft. You don't need to do that now. You can wait. What good does it do for you to... You want to apply pressure to the Jets. The Jets are in a position that they're telling themselves, hey, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to do anything. We can keep him for all we care. We can hold on to him, and we'll get a compensatory pick when he signs somewhere in the offseason next year. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. If he doesn't get a big deal, more likely than not, he won't. You ain't getting shit. At the end of the day, though, they want to appear like they're in a position of power here. Like, we don't got to do anything. We'll hold on to him. No, you don't. No, you won't. You'll give him up. You don't want to keep him. That's dead weight. Okay? You're sitting on draft capital. They'll move him, but you want to apply pressure to them. You want to say, hey, look, man, you're running out of time. We at the draft now. You know you don't want him. Hey, take this 2 and stop playing. They 1-1. So you got to squeeze them. I don't think you squeeze them until they don't feel the squeeze until the day of the draft. So I don't see how it's beneficial to trade for him right now. Enrique, thank you for the super chat, Enrique. Greatly appreciate you. Enrique writes, any chance Ron gets aggressive for Watson before the draft, considering all the moves that recently happened? This has no impact on the Deshaun Watson situation in Houston. None. Zero whatsoever. These are separate entities. They're not connected in any way, shape, or form. And it doesn't impact the quarterback market at all. I mean, the only takeaway and domino and ripple effect here is that there was this notion that Aaron Rodgers could go back to San Francisco and finish out his career in the Bay Area close to home. Well, that shit's dead now. That's the only thing that I look at in terms of a domino in the veteran quarterback department that is falling here, is that Aaron Rodgers, one of his destinations, is off the table now. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, that's where we're going to wrap up this show as we go to garbage time. So last episode, I promised you guys we were going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, and then shit got tight. We start talking about a whole bunch of stuff, and I forgot. Shoot me, okay? So the situation hasn't changed, so we're going to talk about it now. Aaron Rodgers, he is at a standstill with the Green Bay Packers. Packers wanted to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency this offseason, and they haven't been able to do that. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers is holding them hostage with his current contract, where he's making some obscene amount of money, some Ben Roethlisberger type money, like $41 million or $37 million or whatever the number is. It's an obscene number that he's costing them against the cap, and it's not allowing them to make any moves to improve the team in free agency. Well, that ship's pretty much sailed at this point. All the good free agents are gone now. You're bargain bin shopping, and there's still some stuff out there if the Packers were interested, but they're more interested in restructuring Aaron Rodgers' deal. Aaron's like, hey, cool. I'll restructure, but I need some guarantees from y'all. For starters, I need reassurance that I'm going to be here past 2022. What y'all got to say about that? And the Packers are like, you said something? He said, that's what I thought. Y'all trying to get rid of me. Y'all trying to move on from me. Y'all want the young boy in as early as next year. I'm not renegotiating shit for y'all. I'm not moving money around to make it really easy for you and convenient for you. Look, if we win a Super Bowl next year, we win a Super Bowl. If we don't, I don't give a shit. I'm going to be petty because y'all were petty when y'all decided to take Jordan Love and move up in the draft to do it last year instead of drafting me a damn wide receiver. You want to be petty? I can play that game with y'all. I'm not moving any money around to help your ass out for the future, and I'm not even going to be here to take advantage of it. Don't sell me on trying to upgrade the roster this year. You've had ample opportunities to do that, including last year in the first round, and you bypassed it to take a damn quarterback. Does it look like I'm slowing down? I was the damn MVP of the league this year. Does it look like I'm slowing down? You didn't need to take a quarterback, and you did. So y'all can kiss my ass unless y'all gonna give me a guarantee that I'm gonna be here past 2022. Can y'all do that? Huh? You said something. I didn't hear you, Aaron. I didn't hear you. See, that's the shit I'm talking about. I'm out of here. So this marriage is gonna end ugly, and it's gonna end after 2021. And they're doing him essentially the way that the whole Brett Favre situation ended. And the Packers fans didn't want to see this happen again. They didn't want their beloved quarterback to leave on bad terms again, but it's going to happen again. And you know, the crazy thing is, this exact thing happened to Aaron Rodgers. He saw the writing on the wall when they took. That's why he was so vehemently against it. It struck a chord with him. It hit a nerve. It took him back to when he was a rookie and Brett Favre was giving him the cold shoulder. Remember, he said, Brett ain't show me shit. Brett wasn't my friend, and I understood. You know, they had the little cool handshake, the little gun holster handshake. That was about it. It was tough love. You coming to take my job. Luckily enough for the Packers, Brett decided he wanted to retire. But then Brett was like, hey, I want to come back. They was like, nah. We got the young fella, man. We already told him it was his turn. Sorry, Brett. Y'all gonna do me like that. Brett Favre brought you a Super Bowl. Brought the title back to Title Town. Y'all gonna do me like that. Yeah, man. Come on. Come on, Brett, baby. Brett, baby. Come on. Don't do that. Don't end like this. But it did. But now it's happening again with Aaron Rodgers. It's a sad state of affairs. But everybody that's in that pocket, start lining up your ducks in a nice little neat row. Get your ducats ready. Clear out your space. And get ready to get you some Aaron Rodgers next year because it's going down. Meet me in 2022. It's going down. Aaron Rodgers will be available. Guaranteed to go down. Get your shit ready. It's going down. He's not renegotiating. The Packers are ready for the Jordan Love era to begin. It's a shame because Aaron Rodgers is... And look, we see what's happening now. 40 is the new 30, 32. Like, 40 don't mean shit no more. I see 3 to 4 more quarterbacks playing well into their 40s and playing at a high level. Matt Ryan looks like he's poised and primed to play into his 40s and still be playing at a high enough level that he can still play in this league if he wants to. I see Aaron Rodgers doing the exact same thing, playing well into his 40s. I could see Matthew Stafford, even though his body scares me because he might break down. If they don't protect him better in Los Angeles, I could see his body breaking down, but I could see him playing into his 40s if, you know, things go well for him and he's able to stay relatively healthy. I could see Russell Wilson. I didn't realize Russ was 30 already. I was like, yo, Russ is already 30 plus already? I didn't realize he got there. It just seemed like yesterday he was in the Super Bowl, young cat, wet behind the ears, breath smelling like Similac. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, Rodgers isn't going to renegotiate to help them out when he knows they're trying to push him out the door. He wants reassurance from them that this is a deal that's going to be good for him long-term in Green Bay to stick around. And the Packers can't promise him that. Because I told you, by year 3, they need to find out what the hell's up with Jordan Love. the first 2 years weren't a big deal. Last year wasn't a big deal. This year's not a big deal. That's why I told you after they lost in the NFC Championship game and there were all these rumors floating around, is Aaron Rodgers going to be, damn right he's going to be back. There's no rush to get him on the field this year coming up in 2021. The clock starts ticking in 2022, however, because now we get into year 3 and you don't want to get to year 4 and now you got to pick up the 5th-year option blindly and not really know what the hell you've gotten yourself into. You play him in year 3, you see him in year 4, you'll know. By the end of year 3, you'll know, do I need to pick up this 5th-year option? Probably you do. Because even if he doesn't perform the way you want him to in year 3, you might say, hey, he's getting it. We're not there yet, but he's getting it. We're going to pick up that 5th-year option just to make sure. But you don't want to put yourself in a position where 3 years go by, 4 years go by, and you haven't seen him. Then you're in a pretty tough spot at that point. So this is his last year in Green Bay. I'm going to be honest with you. And at that point, somebody could have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers type roster ready for a veteran like Aaron Rodgers to come along and put him over the top. I'm telling you right now, if you think you got that kind of roster, get your shit straight right now. Rodgers will be available next year. Get your shit straight right now. Right now. Right now. Right now. Right now. Get it straight right now. Because he's going to be available. Got another super chat to take us out of here. This one is from Kerry Williamson. Thank you for your 4th super chat of the night. Kerry Williamson, who writes, draft and groom quarterback Dustin Crum. Scratch Watson, Washington football team. 9 times out of 10, the draft a mid to late round quarterback and groom him shit never works. 9 times out of 10. There's the one guy out of 10 that's the rare occasion where you draft a guy in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round and it pans out. When's the last time we seen one of those legitimately work out? Was it Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson back in 2012? Like, who gets mid-round quarterbacks and they turn out and prove to be really good? When's the last time we seen that happen? Again, you might get a dude in the 2nd round. You know, Derek Carr's a 2nd round quarterback. You see that happen. You know, the Broncos are hoping Drew Lock is legit. He's a 2nd round pick. It's the last time you seen a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th. Shit doesn't happen, man. It's rare. It's rare. Anyway, that's it. I'm out of here. I thank you guys for joining me on the Louie T Network podcast, 150th installment of this podcast. Greatly appreciate you guys for chopping it up with me. And as always, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And again, hit the like button. We're almost there. There are 190 of you out there. Only 91 likes. Need 9 more to get over the century mark. Let's make it happen before we close the show. Can't thank you guys enough for taking the time out of your busy schedules on a beautiful Friday. We talking about 70 degrees. Oh my God, it was beautiful today. And these boys came for my Friday with these trains. But it don't matter. We had fun chopping it up, as we always do here on the Louie T Network podcast. And that's why I love you guys. Love you to death. So with that said, I'm going to exit stage left so you can get your weekend started the right way, right after a long day. I appreciate you for kicking it with your man, Louie T, here on the Louie T Network. I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the weekend. If anything else happens, any other big shebangs happen, I'll be here to break it all down. I think we're going to have a pretty quiet, uneventful weekend, however. So with that in mind, I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the weekend. Take care.